Hey everybody, this is Viva Shavery and I am on YouTube. What I am doing today is giving you all, as promised, a video a week of inspiration, empowerment, whatever it is that I felt in my spirit and I needed to share or say. And I'm actually giving you an extension of what it is that I discussed in my audio series on yesterday. The audio series episode is titled The Alchemy, and basically what it speaks about is the book The Alchemist. I read an excerpt from the book, but I'm also giving a message or whatever spiritual insight that I feel is relevant to whomever may be listening that may need whatever guidance it is that I am providing. This is something that I felt is very imperative to share because there's so many people that are going through so many different things. And the biggest thing, as I spoke about yesterday on my series, is being present. And a lot of times we forget to be present. We're looking for what's next. We're looking for what has already occurred. We're in the past. We're stuck. And if we just take a moment to pause and step into the now, we will understand life and the way it works and be able to accept the flow of it a lot better. So today, if you have not read The Alchemist, I really suggest this book because if anybody is on a personal journey, whether it be spirituality, whether it be trying to find your individuality, whether it be trying to understand everything that you've already been through thus far, I think that it's so important to just read this book. I've had this book a few years, and just recently I decided to reread the book because I felt so many shifts. And sidebar, you're going to hear me speak a lot about different astrology aspects. You're going to hear me speak about a lot of different things, whether it be several different religions, whether it be astrology, whether it be how the solar system works, mathematics. You'll hear me speaking about a lot of different things because that is how my evolution of self has actually evolved. So there are a lot of different references. Even mythology, you'll hear me reference different gods and goddesses to relay certain messages or relay certain things to you. Don't take it too personal. It's nothing geared to a specific belief or a specific religion. It is all about how I communicate because that is how I have been able to evolve within self and on this journey of spirituality and in life as a whole. Okay, so back to what I was speaking about. The Alchemist is all about spirit, and it really brings you into the present, and it lets you see just how in everyone's life we're so eager to get to a certain destination and a certain point, but it's the jewels that you get along the way that makes that journey so beautiful. And that is where the ultimate peace and happiness and the learning comes from, the actual journey, not the destination. So I'm going to read a different excerpt for you today, but a little bit about what it was that I was reading yesterday. And I will give you all the message that I got during meditation and prayer, and whomever it connects with, whomever it's supposed to resonate with, it will. And I hope that it helps you to understand more so on your own journey, your own personal journeys as well. Okay, so in the book at this far, there's a boy, and he basically is on this journey of he's a shepherd, and he has his own sheep. He started his own business, like he's in the naked eye successful or on his road to success, but there's something deep within his spirit that's leading him to do something new, to do something totally out of his element, something he's never done before, but it is something that is in him to do. So he drops everything and he goes on this journey that makes absolutely no sense to those who are on the outside, but there is something inside him that is continuously keeping him going, and it connects him with so many different walks and paths of life, even for a temporary moment, so that he can get whatever it is that he's needing to get to go to his next place. So At this place, he's already met an Englishman, and the Englishman is on the journey with him. However, the Englishman has already evolved to a certain point beyond where the boy is, because the boy is just starting out. So he has a lot of questions. He's not understanding everything, and he has a lot of confusion. But he's in this space of now things are starting to click, and you're gonna see how the Englishman is kind of like when people are so evolved, whether it be in religion or whether it be in whatever they think they know in life, they're so woke that they don't understand when they didn't know anything. But the real jewel is the more you know that you don't know anything. So in this case, you see the differences in how the Englishman acts towards the boy and how the boy is looking at the Englishman. But then as you read in the book, you'll see how it all comes together, and then the perspectives change. So it's a really beautiful journey. But I'm going to start from where I was yesterday. And then I'll go on with my message, and then we'll end it. Okay. So the Englishman was unable to sleep one night. He called to the boy, and they took a walk along the dunes surrounding the encampment. There was a full moon, and the boy told the Englishman the story of his life. The Englishman was fascinated with the part about the progress achieved at the crystal shop after the boy began working there. That's the principle that governs all things, he said. In alchemy, it's called the soul of the world. When you want something with all your heart, that's when you are closest to the soul of the world. It's always a positive force. He also said that this was not just a human gift, that everything on the face of the earth had a soul, whether mineral, vegetable, or animal, or even just a simple thought. Everything on earth is being continuously transformed because the earth is alive and it has a soul. We are a part of that soul, so we rarely recognize that it is working for us. But in the crystal shop, you probably realized that even the glasses were collaborating in your success. The boy thought about that for a while as he looked at the moon and the bleached sands. I've watched the caravan as it crossed the desert, he said. The caravan and the desert speak the same language. And it's for that reason that the desert allows the crossing. It's going to test the caravans every step to see if it's in time. And if it is, we will make it to the oasis. If either of us had joined the caravan based only on personal courage, but without understanding that language, this journey would have been much more difficult. They stood there looking at the moon. That's the magic of omens, said the boy. I've seen how the guides read the signs of the desert, and how the soul of the caravan speaks to the soul of the desert. The Englishman said, I better pay more attention to the caravan. And I'd better read your books, said the boy. They were strange books. They spoke about Mercury, salt, dragons, and kings, and he didn't understand any of it. But there was one idea that seemed to repeat itself throughout all of the books. All things are the manifestation of one thing only. In one of the books, he learned that the most important text in the literature of alchemy contained only a few lines and had been inscribed on the surface of an emerald. It's the emerald tablet, said the Englishman, proud that he might teach something to the boy. Well then, why do we need all these books? The boy said. So that we can understand those few lines, the Englishman answered without appearing really to believe what he had said. The book that most interested the boy told the stories of the famous alchemists. They were men who had dedicated their entire lives to the purification of metals in their laboratories. They believed that if a metal were heated for many years, it would free itself of all individual properties, and what was left would be the soul of the world. The soul of the world allowed them to understand anything on the face of the earth because it was the language with which all things communicated. They called that discovery the master work. It was part liquid and part solid. Can't you just observe men and omens in order to understand the language? The boy asked. You have a mania for simplifying everything, answered the Englishman, irritated. Alchemy is a serious discipline. Every step has to be followed exactly as it was followed by the masters. The boy learned that the liquid part of the masterwork was called the elixir of life, and that it's cured all illnesses. It also kept the alchemist from growing old. And the solid part was called the philosopher's stone. It's not easy to find the philosopher's stone, said the Englishman. The alchemists spent years in their laboratories observing the fire that purified the metals. They spent so much time close to the fire that gradually they gave up the vanities of the world. They discovered that the purification of the metals had led to the purification of themselves. The boy thought about the crystal merchant. He had said that it was a good thing for the boy to clean the crystal pieces so that he could free himself from negative thoughts. The boy was becoming more and more convinced that alchemy could be learned in one's daily life. Also, said the Englishman, the philosopher's stone has a fascinating property. A small sliver of the stone can transform large quantities of metal into gold. Having heard that, the boy became even more interested in alchemy. He thought that, with some patience, he'd be able to transform everything into gold. He read the lives of the various people who had succeeded in doing so: Helvetius, Elias, Fulcanelli, and Gerber. They were fascinating stories. Each of them lived out their personal legend to the end. They traveled, spoke with wise men, performed miracles for the incredulous, and owned the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. But when the boy wanted to learn how to achieve the masterwork, he became completely lost. There were just drawings and coded instructions and obscure texts. Why do they make things so complicated? He asked the Englishman one night. The boy had noticed that the Englishman was irritable and missed his books. So that who has the responsibility for understanding can understand, he said. Imagine if everyone went around transforming lead into gold. Gold would lose its value. It's only those who are persistent and willing to study things deeply who achieve the master work. That's why I'm here in the middle of the desert. I'm seeking a true alchemist who will help me to decipher the codes. When were these books written? The boy asked. Many centuries ago. They didn't have the printing press in those days, the boy argued. There was no way for everybody to know about alchemy. Why did they use such strange language with so many drawings? The Englishman didn't answer him directly. He said that for the past few days he had been paying attention to how the caravan operated, but that he hadn't learned anything new. The only thing he had noticed was the talk of war was becoming more and more frequent. Then, one day the boy returned to the books of the Englishman. Did you learn anything? The Englishman asked, eager to hear what it might be. He needed someone to talk to so as to avoid thinking about the possibility of war. I learned that the world has no soul. I learned that the world actually has a soul, and that whoever understands that soul can also understand the language of things. I learned that many alchemists realized their personal legends and wound up discovering the soul of the world, the philosopher's stone, and the elixir of life. But above all, I learned that these things are all so simple that they could be written on the surface of an emerald. The Englishman was disappointed. The years of research, the magic symbols, the strange words, and the laboratory equipment, none of this had made any impression on the boy. His soul must be too primitive to understand those things, he thought. He took back his books and packed them away again in their bags. Go back to watching the caravan, he said. That didn't teach me anything either. The boy went back to contemplating the silence of the desert and the sand raised by the animals. Everyone has his or her own way of learning things, he said to himself. His way isn't the same as mine, nor mine is his, but we're both in search of our personal legends, and I respect him for that. And I'll end there. Listen, okay? The beauty of that part of this book is something that so many people can relate to. You come from different walks of life. You are introduced to something new. You feel like you are learning, but the more you learn, the more you're lost at the same time. You're on this journey of figuring it out, trying to put two and two together and understanding that this doesn't make sense when it's combined together, but it makes sense as an individual perspective, right? He understood that the elixir of life, and he understood that the world was a soul, but he didn't understand how all of that came into one. He didn't understand about, the depth of it and why it had to be so complicated when to him in his mind it should be this simple. The guy, the Englishman, is at this point very irritated with him because he's not even trying to learn the basics anymore. He's already evolved beyond that, so he thinks. So he's already grasped the part that he thinks is most important, which is how this came to be. He's more into the technical parts. He's into the emeralds, and he's into all of the work it took to create the emeralds, and he's into all of the intricate parts that to the boy are like foreign language, right? The boy is also understanding that, what? I told you to sit at my caravan, and the importance of the caravan, and me watching the moon and seeing how everything responds to everything in a different light was something that I felt was important to learn, and I wanted to share that with you. You felt like sharing these books and the knowledge that's within them was important to you, and it would help me on my journey going further. The problem was each of them had their way of thinking about the totality of the situation. And instead of the Englishman understanding that his perspective was a little different from the boys, it didn't make the boys' perspective any less important. It didn't make his perspective any more or any less realer than his. And that's where the boy becomes into a point, he comes to a point of immense wisdom when he acknowledges that even though I don't know what you know, even though I don't see it the way that you see it, I respect the fact that you see it differently. And I accept the fact that we are on a different path and we are in different places, but we're learning the totality of this big thing as a unit, right? But we're learning it differently. We're processing it differently. And I respect your differences. He's hoping that he gets the same thing in return. A lot of us can use that in our life. As we evolve and as we grow and as we become more, as we feel advanced in whatever areas in our life, be it career, be it relationships, be it friendships, be it just our journey of self, we feel so entitled because we've already evolved in a sense. But the truth is, you haven't really evolved to where you think that you've evolved to, because there's always another level with something else that you need to learn, whether it be a deeper learning that you have to do for yourself, a deeper understanding where it's your journey to spirituality and God, and whether it be something more that you got to learn in your career path. There's always someone who's appearing to know more, who's more advanced, who's more evolved. And if you're not careful, you can look at it in a sense of inadequacy, or you can take it as a learning tool. You could take it as something that where you understand that each of us is on a different path, and our paths are not always parallel, even if we're in the same lane or similar lanes together. It's okay that someone sees things differently. It's okay that someone lives their life slightly differently. It's okay that people's beliefs are different. A lot of people are on this journey of self, and we have to be careful not to adapt to this feeling of entitlement, this feeling of I know more than you, I'm better than you, I'm more advanced than you, that we lose our humility. Just like in The Alchemist, he speaks about the soul of the world. That is so true in so many things. If we just look at all of the differences in the world, there's one common denominator, and that is the energy. That is the spirit behind it, which is the soul. Just like there's a solar system, there's also a solar system, which is SOUL. The solar system is internal to you. When you connect to the solar system internally to you, in the solar system of the universe, in the world, then you are able to understand the depths and the differences of the two, but you also are able to appreciate how they connect. It's not about figuring out everything. It's not about having the answer or making your way the only way or the way for someone else to follow. It's about respecting everyone else is on this soul journey, and everyone's soul journey is aligning differently, but you're all connected to that one thing, which is the soul of the earth, the universe, the energy. Everything is pulling off of that energetic pool. There's a lot of people that are on this journey of trying to find themselves, and a lot of them are losing faith. A lot of you are not sure what to believe in. A lot of you are allowing outside forces to determine your internal world, your internal growth, and what it is that you really, really, really are supposed to be focused on. It's about silencing the noise, being present in now. Connect with the soul of the world. Connect with that one common denominator, which is God, which is the ultimate spirit of it all. His breath is what fuels it all. His breath is what is connecting each and every one of us together. Even if we don't believe the same things, even if we don't see things the same way, there is a common denominator that is holding it all together. And without that common denominator, none of this would be. On your journey to self, on your journey of evolution, as you transition, it's very important for you to understand that you're all on your personal journey of alchemy. You're all trying to learn, you're all trying to grow, and you're all trying to flow. That is the key to it. Flowing, not trying to fight against what is inevitable, which is growth, change. And change is not stable. A lot of us are wanting stability. Stability is something that we have to create within ourselves. Stability and contentment is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing, but it's not something that you can get from the outside world, because everything that you think is stable on the outside will shift. It's all a part of God's ordainment for everyone's life. Where you are today will not be where you are tomorrow. As the world continues to turn, every single moment, the world is shifting. The world is moving. You can't feel it, but it's moving and it's shifting. And it's not where it was a year ago. It's not where it was a day ago. The position of it has changed. That's why all of the elements are so important. There's so many different elements in everything in life. You have the solar system, you have astrology, you have spirituality, you have your personal journey to defining each of those things for yourself. But the one thing that you must understand and acknowledge is that God is in control of it all. So as you're on your journey to being better and to growing and to evolving and to trying to connect the dots, remember that the only way to truly connect the dots is to connect to the higher source, which is God for me. You connect to that, and that is what brings it all together. Even if you don't understand how it's all coming together, just know that that one common denominator is what matches you with everything you connect with on a day-to-day basis, on a yearly basis, internally and externally. The focus should always be your internal ground, your internal work, your internal depths that you are building constantly and consistently in your life. There's so many people who have these timelines for themselves. I'm supposed to be a mom. I'm supposed to be, by this age, I'm supposed to have this kind of money. I'm supposed to be this place in my career. None of that matters when you take your last breath, right? You have to be able to consistently evolve and grow while also being present in the moment. It's like the ocean. I'm a Cancer, so you're going to hear a lot of these references of water because I love water and I love the moon. And as the moon shifts and as the water shifts, it's so important to understand that the waves of an ocean are always manipulated by the moon. Right? It's always, there could be no wind, but the waves are still going. That's because it's moving towards the way of the moon, right? But look at yourself as a wave in an ocean, right? If you're in the ocean and you are a wave, whether you are wanting to go forward and move side to side or whatever, it doesn't matter, because guess what? These waves are still going to flow through, and either you're going to allow yourself to flow naturally or you're going to be forced into a flow. And when you're forcing yourself into a flow, that's when it becomes extremely just so much discomfort. It becomes almost unbearable because you do not know which way to go. You're trying to gain control. You need to grab it. You need to hold it, but you can't grasp water. Water flows. Water continues to move. Water is powerful enough to drown you. Water is powerful enough to cleanse you. Water is powerful enough to allow you to become stronger in so many different elements of your life. And if you view yourself as a wave in the ocean, right, and you allow yourself to let go and flow through life the way it should be. I'm not saying don't plan. I'm not saying to just go reckless and just not pay attention to anything but the now. I'm saying to you that the most important thing is the now. And on your journey in alchemy, your own personal alchemy in life, it is so important for you to remember that everything shifts. And when you get to a certain place, right? You get to a certain place in life and you look up and things are totally different. You may be interacting with someone who's already been where you're going, who's on its way back. You may be interacting with someone who hasn't gotten to where you're going. They've kind of went around and up and under different steps that you've had to take to get to where you are. But it's respecting that everyone's journey is different. There are lessons on everyone's path that they are learning and they are growing from that are making them better for their journey, not your journey. You can either respect it, you can try to understand it, or you could just not acknowledge it at all, but it doesn't make it any less real, right? It doesn't make it any less important. So the message is for someone. God is trying to show you something. It could be through your dreams. It could be through your interactions with people. It could be through lessons that you're having to learn. There's a lot of different shifts going on. Mercury in retrograde, Cancer. Trust me, okay? I'm a Cancer and I know about these things. But it's about allowing things to flow. There are messages that God is trying to show you. And for those of you who are in tune with your spirit in different ways, and you know that God speaks to you in the way that you hear him. And if you're not hearing him, it's because you're off course. Getting back on course. Obtaining that faith and knowing that he's there, knowing that he's here with you and he's speaking to you, but you're not able to hear him because of the distractions, because of the waves that you're so focused on changing and controlling, when he's saying to you, just flow. Just flow. It's okay. I got this. I got this and I got you. And that is something that so many people are needing to hear today. There is a such thing as agape love. There is a certain thing as being in nothing but happiness. Happiness and agape love, those are things that are all internal. If you're looking for outside forces to give them to you, you'll be disappointed every day. So stay to your course. Stick to what it is that you truly believe for yourself. Maintain the control of knowing that you have no control. Like, there's really nothing you can control but yourself. So once you gain that perspective and you're able to maneuver in those type of waves of life, you'll become a lot more free to experience the now, and you'll be able to take different lessons and different perspectives, and you don't have to absorb them as your own, but you'll allow them in to a place to where you can at least see them, you can hear them, and you can benefit from knowing that they exist. Whether it's for you or not, it's all for your betterment to be aware. Okay? So this is my message for the week. I'm sorry that it is a little long, but for those of you who are not on my audio series, you've gotten like 30 minutes less than what the people on this series get every single week from me. But I hope that this message resonates and connects with those of you who are needing it to. Know that you are truly, 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 truly blessed, and your journey is your journey. It's no one else's journey. No one else has control of your journey but you. God has you. Now you grasp control of what you can control and let go of everything that you cannot. This life is to be lived, but it's also not just to be lived, just to be living. It's to be experienced. You're supposed to leave with such a freedom. Die empty. Don't walk around here full of everything that you have inside that God is wanting you to purge out. You're holding on to it. Let go of that inner conflict with yourself. Let go of all of that, all of the anxiety and the fear and the feeling unworthy and feeling like you're not good enough. Release all of that, because at the end of the day, He has created you as a masterpiece, just as you are today. Where you are is where you're supposed to be, because this is where He planted you strategically, even if it makes no sense to you. It makes no sense how you got here. It makes no sense why you're here. It makes no sense why you're dealing with what it is that you're dealing with. But there is a lesson and there is a jewel in every single encounter, every single connection, and every single place that you are in your life. Where you are is where you're supposed to be. And there is something that is needing to be done and completed there before you can transition to your next phase in life. It's all about the alchemy in you. It's all about the journey. It's all about accepting that that's what life is, a flow, a consistent flow of everything. And then you'll be able to see how everything works out for the good of you. It works out the way it's supposed to, and there's no reason to be afraid of that. It's all about growth, right? That's what you want to do, right? Take the focus off of everything else going on around you. Focus it inward, connect to the soul of the world, and allow that to connect to the soul in you. Have an incredible and amazing week, people. Mwah. Till next time. Bye.